I am a temple who walks the earth. My womb is fertile for giving birth. I am a woman planted in truth. I grow my branches from sacred roots. You are the form of who you wanna be. So come untethered, your soul is free. We're here to heal, we're here to thrive. We are a dream who's come alive. We light a candle, our hearts awake. Illumination for God's sake. A revelation for God's sake. An evolution for God's sake. An inspiration for God's sake. 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 For God's sake.
And so it is. Hello, Essence. This is Jody England, and you're listening to Wild Soul Medicine Radio. I'm glad to have you with us today. We are going to be exploring more around essence. Last week, we talked about embodying essence. And what does that look like to fully incarnate and be actually having your essence animating your form? And this week, we're going to just talk more about essence in general. What is it? Where is it? How do we get to it? Why should we get to it? And then we're going to spend, probably at least half the time taking your calls. And what I will do is if you have a specific question around your essence, I can take a look at that for you. Or I can just look and see what's in the way of you being more in your essence. And I'll let you know what that looks like. And then we may take a shot at moving it depending on what it looks like. So let's talk. So I hope you are well. I am very well. I'm actually leaving tomorrow to go to Toronto and film the new Icon movie with Laura Hollick. And, this is really quite an experience. And I've alluded to it a couple different shows. I think I mentioned it in the last show or two that this opportunity kind of came out of nowhere. And I felt like I wanted to spend a little time talking about it today because it's so in alignment with what we're up to here. And if you listen to the show where I talked about letting go of the High Priestess book project, it's not a coincidence that as I let go of that project, because it just became really obvious that it was not in alignment with my soul and my purpose and my individual essence. It was painful. It was painful to let go of it because all of the external constructs were saying, but what about this? And what about that? And, all of those pieces. And yet I couldn't not be in relationship with my own essence. And so, what is different about this project, why I'm such a yes to it, why I was immediately a yes from the moment I got on the phone with Laura is it is, first of all, the theme is embodying essence and vibrational harmonic, which is all of the things that I'm up to. But the larger purpose of the film is to deepen people into their own iconic essence. And that's exactly the work that I do. And, she really is up to this same idea of rather than creating a flock of sheep who can implement the XYZ approach to how Laura Hollick became what she is, right? What she instead does is help people excavate who they actually are and then bring that out into the world in the most signature, unique way possible. And so not only is the broader message in alignment with my soul purpose, but also, there's a focus on individuality here. It's not about every person telling the same story. In fact, it's about each person telling a different story with their look and their creativity and their words and the next expression of their essence. And so it really is music to my soul to be playing with other women that are up to those same things. And in this particular playground, we're actually playing with each representing a color. So I'll be representing the color blue, indigo precisely. And so we're playing with what does that look like? How does indigo play into my essence, into my soul purpose? I can tell you that one of the sneak preview is we're going to be playing with the next edge of my essence, which is as a galactic bridge builder. And, this is the tricky thing about essence, because we all always want a destination, right? We want to say, oh, I've excavated my essence and now I'm done. I'm cooked. I'm complete. And in reality, we're always evolving. There never is an end point where the essence is done. Laura Hollick, beautiful example, right? So if you watch her work over the years, she has many different iterations. And I would say right now she is more of herself than she ever has been. And there are many more layers that will occur over her lifetime as she continues to lean into the next one and the next one. And the same with myself. As cool as my new brand is, and as fun and powerful and edgy as it has felt to create it and to put it out there, it is still just a stepping stone, right? So here we are less than 6 months into the brand, and already the next level of expression is wanting to be revealed. And so I think that is probably the scariest thing for people is, every single time we step out, it feels so scary because there's every reason to just be safe, to just be like, oh, well, this brand is working and people are coming and they're responding. And so, let's just stay here. But what will happen if you do that is it will start to become stale. And there are some people that I've seen online that have done that, where they bursted out with this cutting edge. You could tell they were really in their essence. They really got out of their shell, and you could see their essence shining through, and they had some magnetic instant success, right? And then what you start to notice is okay, then they try to replicate that the next year and then the next year. And so they still look the same. And now their clients are even looking like they look. And then you can just start to feel the juju start to leak out of it a little, right? And so that's what will happen with your work too. If you don't continuously keep it fresh by excavating and excavating and excavating, you will find that as well. There really is no safe resting place. And also you can just embrace that, it's the idea that there is some safe resting place that actually makes the evolution painful. If we lose our attachment that we are something, that I am a medicine woman, that I am a Midwestern anything, that I'm this or that, if we just lose that and say right now, this is how I'm expressing myself. And then we get curious about what the next way is. And for me, it's even moment to moment, as I started playing with, the idea of having my clothes match my essence, and I had some styling done and things like that. What I never have loved about branding or styling or clothing or any of those things is that my essence likes all kinds of stuff. I have every color of clothing in my closet. I have all different styles. Sometimes I like to rock star it up and, wear really edgy kind of concert t-shirt looks. And sometimes I like to wear a pretty goddess dress. And sometimes I like to wear sweatpants. And sometimes, I wear a mom outfit. And so I've never liked the idea of I can't be all things. I remember one time, not that long ago, there was a woman that was a friend and sort of a mentor at the time. And she was commenting on the clothing that I was wearing. And she was saying, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that you wore that, particular brown skirt, which I actually have on today. I wore it today because it was calling to me. I like the skirt. It's comfortable. It's an expression of me. And so she said that. And I remember feeling like that was her story, right? It was her story that clothing meant something. And she was saying, a lot of your ideal clients are at this event and, they're going to be looking at what you're wearing. And I remember in that moment knowing in my own truth that my ideal clients are not hiring me because of my clothes. They're hiring me because of my essence. And at the same time, is there some truth in that? Yeah, certainly we can hide behind not letting our essence come all the way forward. And so maybe we wear clothes that hide who we are. And there was a piece of that happening for me. But of course, the truth is somewhere in the middle. And so for me, it's about total freedom in all things, in all ways. And so how do you know? How do you know if you're in your essence? How do you know if the brown skirt really is you or is you hiding out, And the way to know that is to constantly be going inward, to be looking inside yourself so that you intimately know yourself and you know what you're about and you know what makes you tick. And, even as much as I do that, it's much more clear, right? So when I first started, it felt just like a crapshoot. Like, I don't know, is this me? Is that me? What do you think? What do I, how can I tell? And the more that I've gone inward, the more there's a sense of radical confidence. So that, when I'm centered in myself, I know exactly what I want. I know exactly who I am. I know exactly what is calling me or not calling me. And that is really the place that I'm inviting you into. And I'm going to continuously invite you in there. So don't worry if you don't get it today or you don't get it over the next however long. But, what I really want you to feel is that what we're creating here is not a tribe of people who are doing it like me, who look like me, who act like me, who hire my photographer, who hire my web designer, who start to wear feathers in their hair. It's none of that. What it is you getting in touch with the radical truth of who you actually are. And maybe that includes feathers in your hair. And maybe it includes you doing a photo shoot in downtown New York City because that's who you actually are, right? And so I celebrate you. What's common about our tribe is that we are all up to essence, right? And that we are all in support of seeing your truth and seeing our truth and being reflected in the places where we aren't quite there. And my vision for this tribe is that when we gather, it's hard to tell what the commonality is because everyone is so unique, right? That everyone has their own vibe and they're doing their own thing. And my least favorite thing would be that we show up and we all look the same or we act the same, I'm one of those people who from early on, even when I was a kid and as a teenager, whenever there was line dancing going on, I would never go out. Like electric slide, I've never done it once in my life. It's like whenever people are doing the same, I'm going to do the opposite. And so I just want to put that invitation out by way of saying that it's totally fine to take this slow, to be uncertain about it, to be scared every single time you take a risk, because there's a lot of things, right? There's a lot of reason to stay safe. Because there are all these reasons why we think like, okay, well, this is probably enough essence. And some of those reasons are things like, well, I don't want to shine too bright. If I really brought the fullness of who I am, people might be uncomfortable about that, right? Because that probably happened in your family of origin at some point. We are afraid that if we show up in the fullness of our essence, maybe people won't get us, we won't belong to our tribe anymore. And so, to be in essence might mean being abandoned or being alone. And we fear that. Sometimes we fear, it might be being ridiculed. For some of us, we have stories and histories around visibility equaling death, right? From past lives. And so there's a fear of actually being all of that. I mean, there's a million reasons, right? There's a million reasons because most of us are way more not in essence than we are in essence. So, it's vulnerable, sacred work that we're up to. And it is the only work that matters. Any other bullshit that you put out in the world ahead of you being in your essence is really just noise. It's noise for you and it's noise for the people who are experiencing it or seeing it out in the world, right? And I say that not to make you feel bad, but to wake you up, right? It's a little bit of a shake to say, look, you have to start doing this work. You really, really do. And I know because for years I was like, I'm working so hard and I'm going to do all this work. And then, when I make a lot of money and I'm on permanent vacation and my kids are grown and I'm retired, then maybe I'll get around to taking care of myself or figuring this all out, right? And it was only when I really started committing to and feeling this pull of my soul, which was so loud that I couldn't ignore it, that things started happening, that I really got that, I can't fake it. And believe me, I tried, I certainly tried. Like I'd do a little work and then I'd be like, okay, great. So I'm figured out enough. I'm going to start a company and here's the product. And, and then it would fall flat or it wouldn't resonate or it'd be really stressful. And okay, back to the drawing board. Who should I follow next? Who should I emulate? Who's got it going on? I'm going to do what they're doing. And then that's going to figure it out. Right. And in the meantime, I'm doing a little bit of work. And I have to tell you, over these last few years where I have been my highest priority, that is where miracles have happened. It's when I started to get radically confident. It's when I started becoming happy. It's when my relationships started shifting. It's when I started understanding for real my purpose, not just like, oh, here's some things I'm good at, so I should probably be coaching or leading or teaching because I can do those things pretty well. But it was like an internal pulse, an internal knowing of I'm not doing those things because it makes money or because it's return on investment. It's like I'm doing those things because it's who I am, right? So that as I do them, there's a complete different feeling behind them. There's even different content within them. So, of course, the gravitational pull of it is completely different. It's just like the body talk we did last week, right? So you can have a body that goes through this life and actually is not really animated by your essence. And so, it might have health problems. It might, kind of be this hollow shell that doesn't have a lot of energy coming from it. Or, and so your purpose is like that. Like you can have your purpose out in the world, but if your essence isn't embodying, the purpose, then it's sort of flat, which is why your clients don't find you or why they don't pay you or why they don't, keep signing up. So really essence solves everything. And it solves everything not from an external in, right? Like get into essence so that I can make money. It's like essence is the point. It is the be all and end all. So every single day of your life, you should be spending some time looking at, am I in essence? If I am not, how can I create more freedom or spaciousness for myself to step into my essence, even just a little bit more, even just in this moment? How can I do that? So an example would be as I was preparing for the show today, I was feeling a little cranky, right? Because I was packing to go and I'm excited to go. And so my attention is kind of forward on what's going to happen in Toronto. And I also started my period. And so I'm cranky in general. And I was just having a hard time settling in. Like I knew what I was going to talk about, but I wasn't feeling it, right? So I went out. I stood on the hill outside my door of my office, put my feet on the earth, and I just dropped in, right? So I dropped in. What's happening here? Let me feel this, you know? And so it just, after you do it for a while, it doesn't even have to be painful. It can just be a few minutes. And it was like, okay, there's a lot of people's energy in my space that's not mine. Let me move that out. So I did that. And then I noticed like, okay, how much in essence am I right now? Oh, like I can't even get myself to my knob, right? Because I was so floating above it. Okay, great. So how can I drop down in? So I did that. And then I tuned into, so what do I want? Now that I'm in my essence, what do I want? Do I want to do the show today? I do. What do I want to do on the show? I want to play. I want to play in essence. I don't want to do the cerebral talk about essence. I want to play. And I felt myself, right? It's like I put myself into the space. And then suddenly it was like I was not crappy anymore. I was happy. I was enlivened, right? Enlivened. And so here we are. So that's an example. It's really attention. Attention is what's called for. We cannot get into essence if we're going to constantly be outrunning it with activity and shoulds and have tos and unconsciousness, right? So I guess there's the last thing I want to say. Let me see. Yeah. Actually, before I say the last thing, if you are wanting to call in, so that we can play together looking at your essence. The number is 937-552-2747, 937-552-2747. All right. So you can go ahead and call in if you want to play together in that space. And while we wait for some people to call in, what I want to say is as an enticement, right? Because here's on the one hand, all of the fear of leaning in and messing things up and like, oh, my life is going well right now. And why do I want to, lean into an uncomfortable place or upset the apple cart, so to speak? So there's all of that in the way of being in essence. But what I want to say is there's so much payoff to being in essence. And aside from the radical confidence and the truth and the reality that it is who you are, miracles occur when you are in essence because people can feel you and they can reach you. And so, this new icon experience is something that it was completely a miracle. I didn't ask for it. I didn't reach out to her. In fact, I was the last person to arrive in the container 2 weeks before shooting. And it was just like I became ready. She saw me. It's a yes. That's how things flow when you are in essence. They're just handled, And even with clothing. So an example of how I've evolved, when I did my branding back in the photo shoot and all of that stuff, when I did that back in October-ish, the clothing was a nightmare, right? So we shopped online and we spent hours and hours trying to figure it out. And, because that was really the first time I'd played with owning my essence and having it be out in the world and so forth. And so, sorry, there's a plane going over, so I'm just going to shut my door really quick. Okay. So then there was another kind of large event in March-ish that I happened into at the last minute. And it was kind of the same thing. It was like, well, none of the stuff from the photo shoot really translates to like real life, like to a business conference. So I sort of need a whole other set of clothing, right, to represent who I am in that space. So again, I spent a lot of time and money again on having myself styled and getting a bunch of clothes and thinking about it and stressing about it. And it was beautiful. I mean, it turned out, but it was taking a lot of discernment, effort, and energy. So now we happen upon the new icon experience. So not only does it only happen in 2 weeks, but my color is blue, which is a color I do not own. I mean, not even a stitch. Like jeans are the only thing I have that's blue. And I live in the middle of nowhere. There is no good shopping. There's no soulful clothing anywhere around here. So all of it has to happen over the internet. So I could feel the old stuff coming up, right? The irritation of, oh my gosh, what am I going to wear? And this is a bunch more money now. And I want to play, blah, blah. And so I just settled into myself, right? Like, I'm going to bring my essence regardless of what is draped around it, right? And so I was just kind of chill about it. And, I ordered one dress off of Etsy for $20. It came. It's perfect. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's completely my essence. It's the favorite thing that I have right now. And then yesterday, I was like, this is interesting. I'm leaving in 2 days. And the way this works is you have to be in your color the entire time. So for 4 days, you can only wear that color the whole thing, right? So I'm at zero clothing. I'm leaving in 2 days. And I'm like, interesting, but I'm really chill about it. I'm confident. I'm still. So yesterday, I went to Kohl's, of all places, Kohl's department store, if you know what that is. I went there with my kids, and I had 45 minutes. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to run through and see if there's anything, right? So at least I'll have maybe one other part of an outfit. And in 45 minutes, we picked up probably 8 things that are super cool. They're actually super, they're cool. I'm just going to say it. And so I was just packing this morning and I was giggling at how easy that is because, for these other projects, I spent several $1,000s each time on the clothing and the wardrobe and the accessories and so forth. And this time I spent $175. That's it. And I've got clothing all in blue for 4 days. So, funny and silly, but a miracle of sorts, right? A miracle. When there doesn't seem to be a way, essence will make the way because you are the originating vibration. And so the world orients around that. And then things become so easy. And so as we prepare to take our first caller, I just want to say, the larger picture, this is not why you're doing it. You're only doing it for yourself and because it's your point. And the larger thing that happens is when we all start operating from essence on a regular basis, the world just naturally becomes peaceful. We don't even need a plan. We don't need to do anything. We'll just start showing up internally peaceful, internally aligned, and then we'll magically start creating that outside of ourselves. Do you see? So you really are literally healing yourself and healing the planet and healing the galaxy all at the same time. So that is why we play. That is why we play. And because it's who we are. So with that, let's go ahead and open up to our first caller. And we will see where we're going to start here. Hi, you're on the air. This is Jody.
Hi, Jody. This is Nandi.
Hi, Nandi. So good to hear from you.
Thank you. It's good to hear your voice and have a chance to dialogue with you. I actually just had this burning feeling last night that I, wanted to call in and talk with you. So excited to be here.
I love it. I have to just say, so this is another really fun essence moment, right? I actually have an email to Nandi sitting on my desk that I was composing today, a long overdue email.
Oh, great. I love that.
Yeah. So our essences are making their way to each other.
Yes.
Beautiful.
I love that.
Yeah. So tell me, do you have an idea of where you'd like to have me look?
Yeah, I'm feeling really like the last maybe month, I've really been stepping into what feels like, my essence is the work that I want to do in the world. I'm really passionate about doing shadow work, and I've had a lot of stuff come up over the last month. I feel like I'm really stepping into something in a new way. And at the same time, I'm feeling like I keep landing in the same place, like in my work, getting stuck around, like getting things going and getting an income going. And I feel like I start to, like, I don't know. So there's something in there that's just, I was just listening to the tail end of what you were saying before you started talking with me. Like, things aren't flowing and feeling easy in the realm of finances. And I was starting to get really bummed. Like, maybe I just shouldn't be a coach.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's just this, no, like, you have something really important to share and give and be of service. And so there's just something floating around in there. You know, I'm not sure if I'm not on point or if I'm having some block, or I don't know. I'm curious to
Yes.
hear what you see and feel. I feel pretty open.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So first of all, thank you so much for being the voice of this, because we have many, many coaches who listen, and I primarily coach coaches, and it breaks my heart how many of us wander around in the darkness for years, struggling and thinking that we shouldn't be coaches because it hasn't worked out, because we followed all the blueprints and we've done all the things, and it's like, where are the freaking clients? So,
right. Like, where's that $50K a month? And then, like, I'm not even sure my Essence wants all that goes with that, but it feels really frustrating. I'm also a therapist, and it's interesting to just be in both worlds.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like coaching world feels more like an industry, and I don't know, there's something about it that I think that my Essence really struggles with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was a therapist as well before I started being a coach. Actually, I was a therapist, then I was an insurance agent and manager for 10 years, and then I came back as a coach.
Oh, wow.
So I know the dissonance between the therapy field and the coaching field, and I actually think this is not related to your Essence, but I'm just going to share this with you and our listeners. I think there's a new evolution coming that's actually a marriage of the two. You know, I think both of them need an overhaul.
Yes, and that's something that I'm really feeling inside of me, is wanting to integrate the two.
Yes.
You know, they both have a lot of wisdom to offer each other.
Yes.
For sure.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of new things that need to be incorporated. And I feel like, you know, that's why us shadow seers are starting to come forward, right? Because what's great about seeing shadow is not only do we see it in people, but we can see it in systems. So we can see like this system's good, and then here's where it's like missing some stuff, you know, or here's where it's out of alignment. So, so I completely agree with you on your shadow seeing being the next evolution of your Essence. And then let's just take a look and see what else is going on. Sound good?
Okay, sounds great.
Okay. So I'd like you to just close your eyes if you would. And let's all receive a breath together. And then Nandi, if you would just say, give me your first name again 3 times, and then just tell me your city to help you come up on my radar screen.
Okay. Nandi. Oakland.
Perfect. All right. So when I look at, so I guess we're going to kind of look at your Essence within this parameter of coaching, you know? And what I see is it's almost like you're a little bored. It looks like, because what I see is you like sitting there sort of slumped against the desk, and you look like, I mean, there's a little frustration, but it's more like there's boredom. And I feel like it's because your soul knows that you're, I'm just going to look at your Essence outside of that. Yeah. Like you have so much vibrance in your Essence. You know, there's very much of a get it done-ness in the truth, right? So when I say in your Essence, like who you are without any blocks. And there's a fire in you. But how it's currently showing up is you have that fire on lockdown because you're trying to fit into these parameters, right? Like the therapy parameter and the coaching parameter and so it feels like you're stifling that fire. And let's just see, why would you do that? Yeah, it looks like because in the past, I think also this is old for you too, like many lifetimes before now, but I think in this lifetime too, when you have shown your fire, it's been blown out pretty decisively by people around you, right? So I think it's been blown out by what they say, their criticism, their fear, and also I think probably in past lives even, probably by killing you, right? Or persecuting you for being like the heretic in a way. Right. Does that resonate?
It does. I mean, it even resonates in this life.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that. Is there any part you can share about that?
Sure. Well, I feel like the way that it's shown up in this life is in my family system. My parents are both immigrants, and so is my brother. And my brother is mentally ill, and my parents have been, I think, less now. I'm almost 40, but when I was growing up, very much in denial. And so there was this voice in the family, like, there's something wrong. He needs to get help. Like, we need to get help. And, like, it just got shut down to the point where I think at some point in my life, I just decided, well, I must be crazy. And I just stopped. And I think, like, I really shut my voice down. And probably over the last 5 years, through a lot of, like, deep transformational work, like, we had to really reconnect with my essence and my voice again and trust that I wasn't crazy. But definitely feel like it got shut down in my family. I'm always sort of been the black sheep in my family, and the first one to go away, and the first one to go to college, and I'm just so different in every possible way from them.
Yes. Welcome to the club, sister.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of us out there. It's quite something. Yeah, it is. And, there's a reason why we chose those families to be born into, right? So for the longest time, it just felt like I was a mistake. Like I got dropped in the wrong place. I do not know why this is happening to me. And, in reality, we chose them because we needed to become strong. We needed to be able to discern what is our voice and what is not our voice, and what it feels like in our soul when we step away from our truth, so that we have the experience of our fire and not our fire, right? So that when we step back into our fire is that much stronger because of having the contrasting experience of it blown out for so many years. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yep. And it's interesting, actually, when I was seeing you at the beginning, I was like, is that just because this is where I'm sitting? But I actually see you sitting by a microphone that looks very similar to mine. So I don't know, maybe there's a radio show in your future, or, it feels like there literally is a broadcasting of your voice that's being called forward.
Yeah.
Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, it does. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm feeling, everything you said is resonating. I definitely feel like it's time for me to share my voice. In fact, in an hour and a half after this, I actually have a teleclass that I'm giving on shadow and relationships. Yeah, and there is this feeling, I don't know if it's exactly boredom, but there's definitely this feeling of like, okay, like I took all these programs and I need to construct a program, and this is how I need to do the coaching business, and this is how I need to do stuff and get my website up and do this call and put this package together, and it's driving me crazy. Like I'm not inspired by it.
Yeah. Yes, that's it. I mean, it's not inspired, right? So it's almost like a kid who's sitting in class, but she already knows the lesson. And so she's like, okay, so now I have to write these story problems 15 times, but I already know the answer, you know? That's
Right.
what it feels like
Yeah.
to me. Yeah. Okay, so let's do some unhooking of this, shall we?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, first of all, it really looks like there's a lot of it. It's a lot of masculine energy that's kind of overtaking your system. So the right side of your body really is holding the left side on lockdown, if that makes sense, right? So our right side is like our doing side. It's also the work side. So that's where all of the should and to do, happens.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's just play with. It's like I want to see you. So imagine this. As you sit there with your eyes closed, imagine that you could put your shoulders back so that you could open your chest. I want you to see if you can actually feel centered and balanced within your physical body. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just play with it. You might not be able to, but just let me know what it feels like when you try it.
It's funny, like my right shoulder is super, super tight, and it feels like it doesn't even want to go back.
Yeah. I get that too. It's almost like it's a rubber band, right? Like it's contracted.
Yeah, it's just like so tight and like almost rolled over and frozen, and that's sort of like locked.
Yes. Yeah, great. Okay, so let's play with that. Let's see if we can wake up that side. I want you to go right into the center of your heart space. So if you can imagine, you can step right into there. And just imagine you can see right where that rubber band is connected from inside your shoulder right into the center of your heart space. It's like a tether.
Yeah.
Yep. And so let's play with, is there a way that you could clip that just so that the shoulder could go back for a second and we could see what that's like? And then if we hate it, we'll tie it back up. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
All right, great. So when you're ready.
Okay, I'm clipping it now.
There you go. Good. And then there will be a sort of, you feel those emotions coming through and the stories. So just let those pass. Yep. And then it feels a little trembly to me. Do you notice that?
Yeah, it's like my heart space like started hurting. I just felt pain in my heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's just breathe with that. Let's receive a couple breaths. Yep. I'm just going to let you breathe for a second. And so, by the way, this is a perfect example of these are subconscious things that keep us from being in our essence. So consciously, obviously, Nandi is a smart, capable, confident woman. And yet there's this disconnect. Like, why isn't this happening for me? So there are these weird energy things happening below the surface that you don't know if you can't see them, So this is old stuff, old programming. So your heart your heart got hurt at some point, right? Being fully centered and full of yourself in this way. And so it's scared. It's scared for that to happen again. Right? So let's just play. So how are you feeling now? Is it still so trembly or is it a little better?
It feels better. Like the pain sort of moved through my heart, and there's just sort of, I feel like my arm is like wanting to relax more, and there's this going back and forth, like, oh wait, no tension, no relax, no tension. No.
Yes, great. So I'd like to invite you to move the arm, right? So just play with it. Like maybe you want to move it a lot or maybe a little. Just experiment. By the way,
stretching feels really good. Yeah,
nice. And by the way, so body movement is great. What we talked about last week, changing how you move your body will also change how your essence unfolds. So what I was doing before the show is I like slipped down into my body, and then I was like, oh, my body actually wants to move and it wants to like sort of dance and gyrate. And so I gave into that for a minute, and then the story popped through like, oh my gosh, what if my neighbor's looking? And then I looked over to see if she was there. And I was like, oh, that's silly. And move some more. Oh my gosh, my son's here. What if he's watching? He probably thinks this is weird, And so like you'll move the body, but energy really is moving to let those stories come through, to just be like, ha, there I am. Yeah. Good. I like you stretching. Can you clasp your hands behind your back and stretch that much back?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and do that.
That feels so good.
And imagine as you let go that you can just feel that tension in your shoulders kind of draining down and out your fingertips.
Yeah, I can feel that.
Yeah.
Much more relaxation there.
Nice. Beautiful.
And like when I'm really noticing that, like there's this sort of words passing through my mind, like, is it safe to relax?
Yes. So can you answer that question?
It's funny, like the dialogue that I'm just really aware of is it safe to relax? And then there's this, yes, it's safe to relax. And then there's this, like, but what do I do? Like, I need to make money. Like, I need to do something. Like, what do I do? How do I do this? How do I relax? Like, it's not going to come.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is a lot of, that's all that programming growing up. Like, there's something wrong. We have to fix it. We have to work hard. We have to keep doing something. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Never a landing. So I think it might be really cool for you to tune into the wisdom of your essence, which is actually right here with you. She's a little split off, so I don't know that you'll feel her inside you. To me, she looks like she's standing, off to the left of you. But I wonder if you could turn to her and just ask her, is it safe for me to relax?
Yeah, she said yes. She's there, and she's been waiting for me.
Yeah, and see if you can notice the quality of her relaxation.
Yeah, there's just an isness, like she just is.
Yeah, it's not what you think, right? It's not like laying on the couch doing nothing. She's just at ease.
Yeah.
Right? I want to sign up with a coach who's at ease. Do you?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Aren't we silly? Of course we want that. Yeah. Yeah. So what it feels like to me is this is a beginning for you. This is a bridge of you starting to feel, and actually I'm really present to the back right, like the scapula sort of. Do you feel the tightness in your right back?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of got caught there. So let's see. Can we let that go? Maybe just stretch your arm forward and tell that part of your back it's okay to let that go.
Yeah.
And you can say yes to that too. Like, thank you for trying to keep me in pain so that I'm just a little contracted still. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know exactly how to get that back. So I'm just going to experiment in this minute on the phone. What would it feel like if I let that go? There you go.
Yeah, releasing.
Yep. Good. And so from this space of ease, I want you to imagine navigating your next business step, right? Which I think is just navigating this upcoming call, right? Imagine navigating this call in an hour and a half from this space of ease and confidence.
Yeah, it feels easy.
Yeah. There's almost there's a vibration it's lower, right? So the old way you've operated is upper, right? So very smart, figuring it out, understanding, right? And transmitting. And this vibration is lower in the body, so it's more grounded. It's more heart-centered, so it becomes more of a transmission than a bunch of words. Does that make sense to you?
It does. It's funny because there's this, I've been experiencing this push and pull. Like, I did a shadow workshop last week, and I wanted to be in this, like, masculine space, and I just kept hearing this, like, no, like, you need to just show up and trust. And I did, and it was really good. And so for this call, like, I haven't even found out anything to say, and it's just sort of like, no, you need to trust, and it's this heart space, right? Trusting the space.
Mm-hmm. It is. And you know what I think is the bridge for you is, what are you trusting, right? What you're really trusting is yourself. You just met her, right? She's really at ease and she's totally got it handled. So that's what you're trusting.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. If you just think about letting go into nothing, you know, all of the old programming is going to be coming and trying to grab on to some control somewhere. So, yeah, so you can just move her right into the center of you if you'd like. Right now, you can just invite her into the center and say, I know you. I trust you.
Yeah, she goes willingly and happily into my heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She's very solid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. So, thank you for playing. And I have a request if you're up for it. I don't know if you're charging for this call, but if it's free, I would love to have you share it within the tribe. Just by way of like having us celebrate you in your essence. You don't have to be perfect, right? But I think it's, you are a leader, you know? And so I think it'd be a beautiful bridge to share your work with the women in the tribe.
Thank you very much. It is free, and I'm very happy to share it. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Yeah, that's
Yay.
good.
Woohoo! Don't we
you.
want Nandi in her essence leading calls about shadow? Yes, we do.
Thank you.
Thank you, my darling. Mm-hmm. So good to talk to you.
You too.
Thanks.
Sure.
Okay, we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, sounds good. Bye.
Okay, so we will do another caller, but in the meantime, let's just all receive a breath. Yeah, and you know, the point that I want to bring forward with Nandi is we all do this, right? We all do this thing where, especially when we're smart and we know we can count on that part of ourselves to be competent, that we just use that to bypass essence. You know, we just hang out up in the top and we don't actually come down and in. So when you catch yourself doing that, it's not about making yourself wrong, because that's just going to be more head dialogue. But it's like, oh, okay, hi head. And can I access a lower point, right? Can I drop beneath the mind chatter into something more true? Okay, great. Thank you, Nandi, for sharing. Okay, so now we have Yeshe. Hi, Yeshe.
Hello, beautiful. How are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
You know what? I'm doing pretty good.
I feel you, shiny energy. Hi.
Thank you. Hi. So I'm calling in because I just recently received guidance from my primary guides that it's time for me to rebrand, and been feeling it for a few months now, and it came through more clearly a couple of days ago. And what my higher self is asking of me is to be fully authentic in a way that is raw, and in a way that is that brings me back to my childhood desires. Actually, my childhood essence, really. And you know, I have a new offering that's coming forth, and that feels really good. I believe that I've given the scared parts of me some love and some attention. And I just thought that if another third eye could look at it with me, that I'd really appreciate that support.
I would love to do that with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's dive in, shall we?
Yep.
So as we dive in, I just want to say this is why having additional seeing can help, because we can only do what we can see to do, right? And then there's all the rest of the blind spots. So so it doesn't mean Yeshe hasn't done her work. It just means like, hey, let's see what else. And by the way, there's always something else. I could read anybody. I could read the clearest person you could find, and there'd be something else, just like there's always something else in me. So that's the gig, you know? Mm-hmm. So, okay. So as we settle in, actually, go ahead and just give me your first name again 3 times.
Yeshe, Yeshe, Yeshe.
Perfect. Okay, so as I feel into this idea of you offering your truth, your childhood truth, I can feel that there's still some block around caring what people think, right? Mm-hmm. And I see your so sweet little girl face of like, was that good? Did you like it? Was that good? You know? And so I think we need to, so there's 2 pieces. So there's that. And then behind that, there's this question of, what is the desire? Like, what is the intention of sharing more honestly or more fully or more transparently? What's the desire behind that?
That's a great question. What has been coming through is just that it's time. Mm-hmm. So let me kind of think into that a minute here. The desire is for even more. You know what? Here's the phrase. I keep seeing this picture of the ever blossoming lotus, and so the desire is to just continue evolving, and it's not just. The desire is to continue evolving, and the desire is to continue flowering, myself and the many facets of me.
Okay, great. So what I would love is I want you to feel inside yourself where that impulse lives. That impulse, the center of the lotus, the part that's like, I have to come to the surface, right? I want you to feel where that is in your body.
It is lower throat chakra, upper heart chakra.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to pause for a second. I want to just to make an observation for people listening. So this is another way of bypassing, right? So we heard Nandi's version, which many of us have, of like the many classes and the many mentors and all of those. And then, so we have Yeshe, who's more spirit driven. She has taken a lot of classes, but she's spirit driven. So she's listening, but she's still bypassing because it's like, well, my guides said I should be more authentic. And then I'm going to hopefully be authentic in a way that pleases my guides and the people who hear it, right? So you can see it's still not fully internal. So I just want to bring that awareness to you and everybody who's listening too, right? So that's why we're going in. So it's like, what's in it for Yeshe? I want her connecting with her pulse around this. All right. So imagine you can actually step into the depth of that space. Yep. And let me know when you feel like you've arrived at it. Okay. What do you notice when you get in there?
It looks wide but short, like vertically short, but left to right wide.
Mm-hmm. And
odd to me.
Yeah, is there an energetic or a feeling in there?
So so I'm hearing the phrase, a lot of space to fill.
Mm-hmm. Does that mean something to you?
Not yet. Let me... Yeah, feeling small. Like, yeah, okay, so my little girl self pops up and she's like, I can't fill all that space. How am I supposed to fill all that space? So that feels sort of like when someone says those are big shoes to fill.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just going to go ahead and add some stuff here, but by way of time and getting us to the bottom line. So here's what I see. I see in that space, I see the place where you are, and it looks flickery to me. So I see the blue light, but it looks like it's having a hard time staying on, kind of like a fluorescent light that's about to burn out, you know?
Yes, exactly. Uh-huh.
Yep. And what it feels like is, so there's a disconnect from the desire up here. And I feel like this is the place where the little girl lives who wants the approval, right? So it's like there's a desire up here in the throat that, is it okay if we just go all the way there?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, we're going to go. I know you can handle this.
Yeah.
Okay, so the little girl desire is I want to speak more truth. I want to do more truth, right? Because that feels safe. The actual truth that I feel that's calling you forward is you're disconnected from it, but it's low. It's in your belly, of course, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mm-hmm. It feels low. It's in your belly and it's also in your yoni. And it feels to me like that is the truth that is wanting to be more authentically heard, mostly heard, and then expressed.
Yep. Let me even curtail that more. So what happened is when you asked me where I was feeling it in my body, there was a fear of speaking that truth about my yoni space on the radio show.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there it is. Yep. Okay.
Awesome.
So,
and
so what Yeshe wants from this is to feel turned on all the time.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
That feels true. And my whole body just broke out in goosebumps.
Yep.
Right? Do I want Yeshe to be turned on all the time? Fuck yes.
Right?
Right? I want to be turned on all the time. Hello, sister.
Yes.
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 You just freed my soul by speaking your truth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there we have it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so that feels good to me. Like, that's where your playground is listening to that space and avoiding the temptation to bring it up to the head. Like, okay, so if it's a yoni thing, then let me think, how can I say that and what will I do with it? But it's more like, rah, And
they both, historically for me, in terms of the work that I'm doing on myself and have been doing, historically, my throat chakra and root chakra, so actually not sacral chakra, my throat chakra and sacral chakra, the blue and the orange, often are connected in the imbalance together. And so it did feel safer to go, let's talk about the throat chakra.
Totally.
We're on the radio.
I know, right? Well, and they are related. Well, they are related. So the first chakra, if listeners don't know this, the tissue and cells of your yoni are identical to the tissue and cells in your throat, right? So many of us women have disconnect in both places, right?
Yeah. And the bones in the pelvis are reflex to the bones in the jaw.
Yes. Perfect. Right? So yes to both, but it's like your mature desire is actually in the yoni, and then the little girl needs some healing to allow those two to work together.
Yes.
Yes.
That loud and clear, sister.
Yes. Beautiful. So we would love to hear from you, whatever part of that journey you would like to share with us in the tribe. as that expression becomes clear. And just one other piece that I would offer is your tendency is to spit it out into the world before you've actually felt it, right? Which is a way of leaking the turn on, because it's perfectly fine to be turned on just for yourself, right? So that you can hold that within yourself without diffusing it. And only when that is really strong, there might be some words that need spoken.
Nice.
Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Beautiful. I also feel like your voice will even deepen, right? Like I can feel when you sort of go up like, but there's like this low sound that I am desiring to hear come out of you.
Yeah, that was me going, what time is it? She's going to need to end the radio show soon.
Totally wanting to please the public already, right?
All the time. That's historically one of my things as well.
Of course. Yeah. So we see your cute little girl wanting to be safe by being approved of. We'll just send her a little kiss right now. Mwah. Yeah. And then we also see your grown-up desire in your yoni that's like, let me out. We blow her a kiss too.
They both want
kisses. Mwah. Gorgeous. Thank you for playing, my love. It's so good to hear your voice.
So good to hear you too all the time. Thank you so much.
All right. Happy playing. That'll be a fun one.
Mm.
Awesome. All right. Bye, love.
Mwah. Bye.
Yes. That was so fun. And so that is our exploration for today. As you see, we could do this all day long. I absolutely love playing in the space of us finding our truth. And you can join us in the tribe if you're not already over there. It's facebook.com/groups/Wild Soul Medicine Radio Tribe, where we continue these juicy behind the scenes conversations. But it's so freeing to hear someone step into their truth, right? And you can hear as it's happening for other people, don't you notice how when they get to the truth that they've been avoiding, it frees something in you. You're like, yes, of course, please. Yes, be at ease. Yes, be turned on, right? So when it's not you, it seems obvious. And then when it's you, you have every kind of story and reason why that doesn't make sense or why it can't happen for you. Right? And so that's what's beautiful about coming together in community, so that as you see and hear other people moving their stuff, it bolsters your courage, and it also gives you this kind of bird's eye awareness of like, oh my gosh, of course, her story is so silly, and so is mine, So thank you, Nandi and Yeshe, for your medicine for us today, for your courage, for the beautiful and deep work that both of you are doing out in the world. And I look forward to playing with you all again next week when I return from Toronto and my iconic Essence experience with certainly many more stories and miracles to share. So until next time, my loves, bye.
We light a candle, our hearts awake. Illumination, for God's sake. A revelation, for God's sake. An inspiration, for God's sake. Illumination, for God's sake. For God's sake. For God's sake. For God.